My name's Caleb, and today we're talking about the Tesla Model 3. Now, before we dive into this video, this car specifically is listed on privateauto.com. Private Auto is a self-service platform with proprietary banking technology that allows you to close the deal on your own, anytime, any place, without the middleman. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, you probably have heard of Elon Musk and Tesla. Here are some specific things you may not know about the Model 3 specifically. Now, when this car first went on pre-order in 2016, within the first 24 hours of it going live, there were over 180,000 pre-orders. That's insane. Now, this car was codenamed Blue Star before it officially went live, and initially Elon wanted to use the Model E. Now, Ford owned the trademark on Model E, so therefore Elon couldn't use it. But had he been able to use it, all models of the Tesla series would have been Model S, Model E, Model X, and Model Y, spelling out sexy. And I think that's pretty fitting because every Tesla model is pretty sexy. And now the last fun fact here is the Tesla Model 3 achieved the lowest NHTSA safety score out of any model and any car up until that point. That rating was 0.38, and in this case, you want the lowest score possible, so this is a really good safety score for a car. All right, now let's get into the trims. So the trims for the Model 3 comes in standard, performance, and long range. This model here is the long range version. But let's dive into the differences of each of the trims. The standard one is a single motor, meaning it is two-wheel drive. The performance and long-range versions are dual motors, meaning they have motors on each axle, which extends the range. So on this model specifically, the long-range trim, you can expect about 325 miles on one charge, but that's brand new. We'll get into what a used range can look like later on in the video. On the standard model, which is the single motor, that gets about 270 miles of range. And then performance, you can expect about 315 miles on a single charge, brand new. Now let's talk about charging. With Tesla, you can go to superchargers all across the country, and you can expect to charge from 0% to 100% in about an hour. Now, if you're in a pinch, you can go to a supercharger and get like 147 miles in like 15 minutes at a supercharger. Otherwise, depending on the type of outlet you're using, you can expect anywhere between 4 to like 11 hours in order to charge all the way up. Now, I mentioned depending on what outlet you're using because standard, when you get a Tesla, you can't plug it directly into like your standard wall outlet at home. This is a Gen 2 NEMA adapter. It plugs into the end of the charging cords that do come with your Tesla, but then it plugs into your standard outlet that you can expect in your garage. Otherwise, if you want faster charging at home, you have to get a wall charger for your Tesla. And if you're like me, who has zero electrician experience, you probably need a certified electrician to come and install it in your home because they're gonna have to have a different voltage for your outlet. And this wall charger can cost around $500-ish. So keep that in mind when you're buying a used Tesla to see what kind of charging comes with it, if they have this adapter, and what you can expect for additional charges to get that wall charger installed. All right, so you're in the market for a used Tesla. You're probably curious how the price changes over time. Now, for the Tesla Model 3, this right here, the long range, brand new, it starts out at about $45K-ish. That price fluctuates wildly based on how Elon feels that morning. But over the course of like 3 to 5 years, you can expect that price to depreciate between 25% and 45%, depending on like how demand is doing at the time. Be sure to always stay up to date on prices of Teslas to make sure that you can get the best deal for a used one. You can expect a used long-range Tesla Model 3 to fall in anywhere between 30K to 40K, which is less than 45K new, but way more than the trade-in value of 29K. So if you are selling your Tesla Model 3, definitely want to sell it private party because a dealer is only going to give you about 29K right now for this car. All right, so one of the things that you definitely want to consider when buying a used EV, any EV, but specifically the Model 3 here, is battery degradation over time. The more often it's driven, the longer it's driven, how often it's charged, the battery will decrease over time. So let's go into the trip today to get here to this filming location So I had about 260 miles when I started the drive. I drove 60 miles and now it says I have about 170 miles. That's a little bit more than 60 miles. So there is some battery degradation that happens. Now, when you drive an EV, there are a lot of things that can affect it. Wind can affect battery efficiency. Cold definitely affects battery efficiency. And here in Utah, it is cold, so therefore the battery is less efficient. And hills affect battery efficiency as well. Before you buy a used EV, used Tesla, used Rivian, whatever it is, be sure to test drive it and do some calculations on your own to see how much the battery is less efficient than brand new. All right, so since we're inside, let's go ahead and talk about the interior of the vehicle. Obviously, this one is the black interior. Tesla Model 3s also come with a all-white interior. Both are leather, and both are pretty easy to clean. So even with white, you can still clean it pretty well. Black does show a lot of blonde dog hair, and I would know because I have a blonde dog. Inside, everything is controlled by this screen right here. So there are actually only 2 buttons here on the steering wheel, and you have 2 buttons here on the levers on the side. So everything else is controlled on the touchscreen here. You can open up the front, you can open up the trunk. You can also control and see your energy efficiency over time. You can see how much you consumed the last trip, how much you've consumed over time here, and what the projected range is here. So this will help you in terms of understanding the battery efficiency over time. Other things you can do, you can play games here. We'll go ahead and experience this a little bit. I can use the steering wheel to game here, and you can even use like the pedals. Obviously, I'm not really good at doing this at all. And then other things you can do that are pretty fun with the Tesla from the center console here, you go into what's called your toy box. This allows you to do light shows. You can set your horn to be different sounds. You can even upload sounds for your horn to be, or for when you lock your car. You can set up a little romance here with the fire pit. Create some ambiance here. Turn on the heat. Nice date night activities here. You can also turn on some flatulence. Explain the directional audio. And it's directional audio. You can see here on the screen, this is driver's side. You can put it back there. You can turn on theater, which this is how you watch Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, YouTube. Now you can only do this while the car is parked for obvious reasons. So if you're looking for entertainment on a road trip, you can't use it while you're driving. Now, another thing I love about Tesla is the security that you can have. You can set up a PIN number to drive or to open up your glove box, so you can make sure your car is as secure as possible. And if you leave any valuables in your glove box, it can't be opened without that PIN. Now, one of my favorite things about the Tesla is the key. Not this key, but this key. The phone is actually your key, which is super awesome for when you want as little as possible in your pockets, such as going to the gym, and you don't have to carry a physical key. However, there is something unique to buying a used Tesla from someone else, aka a private party sale, is that transferring Tesla ownership can take a little bit. So you want to always make sure you get a physical key when you are buying a used Tesla from someone else, because to transfer ownership to the phone, it can take 3 to 5 days. So you can only drive with a physical key during that time. Now, to transfer ownership, for those of you who are selling your Model 3 or any Tesla, it's relatively simple. You go into the Tesla app, make sure both of you have it downloaded. You then open up the settings and go into transfer ownership. You fill out the fields and then hit submit. And then you'll get a confirmation from Tesla that it can take 3 to 5 days. And during that time, the car will still show inside of your Tesla app and will not be inside of the buyer's Tesla app. However, after it's done, you can then verify within the Tesla app after the 3 to 5 days that, okay, the car is no longer in my app as the seller, and as the buyer, you can say, hey, there's the car. It now has my name, my info, all of that. So be sure you get a physical key when you buy a used Tesla, because you won't be able to drive it with just your phone quite yet. Now, before you sell your Tesla Model 3, be sure to erase everything from the software itself inside of your dash here. all your personal info, your user info, your login, log out of everything to make sure that you don't transfer any personal information over to the buyer. Now we're gonna do a rapid fire of the upfront interior of the Tesla Model 3. You got storage space here, storage space there, nice and deep. You got wireless charger here and here for both sides. Then you got a 15.4-inch display where you control everything about your car. You then have your gear selector here, your windshield wiper and blinkers here, and your knobs that you can scroll up and down or hit left or right on both sides, which control various items. Then over here, you got your window increaser and decreaser, your window control, and then you have your button which opens the door, but in case the electronics go out, you also have a physical latch that you can open up as well. I wouldn't recommend using that, use the button. All right, so let's go ahead and take this baby for a drive. So the unique thing about a Tesla Model 3 and any Tesla is that you have different driving options. So up here on the display here, we can control the various pedals and steering options we have here. And you know a car is fun and fast to drive when it has a chill acceleration mode in addition to like the normal one. Now the normal standard acceleration of the Model 3 long range goes 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. That is 0.1 meters per second squared faster than the Incredicoaster at California Adventure. This car is faster than a roller coaster. So you have the 3 trims of the Model 3. We've already talked about the long range acceleration. On the basic standard trim, you can do 0 to 60 in about 5.6 seconds. And on the performance mode, you can do 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds. 1.1 second faster than this model. Before I kick this baby into drive, you do have a few different steering mode options. You have Comfort, Standard, and Sport. Sport is obviously more responsive. You can take sharper corners. Comfort is a much more relaxed feel. And then Standard is just like, I don't know, normal driving mode. So I'll kind of give some feedback on the different driving modes here. The other thing to keep in mind about driving a Tesla is it has regenerative braking. And that means as you let your foot off of the accelerator, the brakes are going to be engaged and recharging the battery. But it can start to feel a little bit like a roller coaster. So you can feel the camera moving here, and all I'm doing is letting my foot off of the accelerator. So be sure to take these cars for a test drive because it can take a lot of getting used to and can even make some people sick because it feels like a roller coaster. Now, some other options you have while you're driving the Tesla Model 3 and any Tesla is you have different braking modes. So you can have hold braking mode, which basically means when you arrive to a stoplight, you can let your foot off the accelerator and it'll just lock in place. And then when you push the accelerator, it starts to go. The other options are creep and roll. Creep just means a slower version of roll. So it's that one's pretty more standard to like your typical driving. You can also, if you are at a high battery charge percentage, you can turn off regenerative braking because then it doesn't need to charge up the battery anymore. So we're gonna go ahead and get out here to the road and test out some of this acceleration power that's faster than a roller coaster. Standard acceleration mode and sport steering, just to get a little bit more responsive. And we'll see how far back the cameraman here falls back to keep the camera steady. So let's go ahead and test that out. All right, so right now we're at about 10 miles an hour, and let's see how quickly we go to 60. And there we go. So pretty fast. As you saw, cameraman did not hold the camera steady, which was anticipated, and that's a-okay. So because it's electric, you don't have to worry about turbo lag or input lag. It is all at the push of your pedal and you are immediately accelerating. As you can see here, the speedometer is in the middle of the car. Now, I mean, it's definitely not common, but it's been done before. But that is slightly unique and it takes some getting used to because you have nothing up here in front. When you look down, there's nothing there. You always have to look to the side here. I really like the Tesla autopilot feature because compared to other cars that have like lane assist, because I like to compare it to, bumpers at a bowling alley. So other lane assists that I've experienced, it's like the bumper that you put down, and it's like guiding your car, and it's kind of like bouncing back and forth. It's not as smooth. Tesla, on the other hand, has mastered the lane assist, and it anticipates where the lane's gonna be at because it has the camera, and it is smooth. So it's smoothly just anticipating where you're at and keeping you inside of the lane. So, of course, as you're considering purchasing a Tesla, the other thing you want to keep in mind is the cost of maintenance of a car. And Tesla is really nice because there's no oil changes. Well, engine, there's a lot less things that can go wrong. However, because you have that torque in the tires, you may be replacing your tires a bit more often than like a normal car. Those will be your primary maintenance costs. Like I said, you don't have to go in for an oil change. You're not replacing the battery. You're not doing those types of things. There's no like regular every 6-month maintenance. It just drives and it does it well. Any recalls or like software issues, keep in mind, this is a smart electric car. So any of your software updates, or if they have like acceleration issues or like safety issues, it's usually done via over-the-air update. So it updates while you're at home over Wi-Fi, just like your phone does a software update. So that's the other thing I really like about Tesla. And it's kind of fun because then you can expect random new features coming to your Tesla while you're doing the software update. There have been some like physical hardware recalls that have happened, and you can find those on Tesla's website. This model hasn't had any, but you can also chat with Tesla support directly within the Tesla app, and that's super nice as well, just to like make sure, hey, have there been any recalls? Do I need any parts? And anytime you do take it in to like replace the tires or replace windshield, they will check and they will update those things for you. Now, the last thing to consider when you are shopping for a used Tesla that you are buying from someone else is the upgrades that it potentially has. So this model here and most Tesla Model 3s, you can upgrade to the full self-driving beta mode. This is a $10,000 upgrade, which can transfer person to person if you are buying privately. Now, if you're buying a car that doesn't come with full self-driving beta, you can actually test it out because Tesla decided to make that also available as a monthly subscription, which means for $200 a month, you can use full self-driving beta. So if you only want to test it out for a month, you can add that onto your car, test it out. If you don't like it, you just cancel it. Now, in my personal opinion, I don't feel like there are enough upgrades to what you get just with the autopilot mode that comes with it to justify $10,000 upgrade. But keep in mind that it's always improving, always upgrading, always updating. So be sure to check the latest of like what actually comes with the full self-driving beta mode to make sure if it's actually worth it. So now that we've covered the entirety of the Model 3, how can you know if this is the right car for you? If you are in the market for an entry-level electric vehicle, the Tesla Model 3 is a perfect one for you. It's a great sedan. It's got a lot of room inside. It's got a lot of trunk room. It's got a front. If you want to dip your toes into the EV world, Tesla's the way to do it. I would say this is a great family car as well. It does have enough space for like 2 car seats in the back. It's easy to clean up. But if you are just looking for like an affordable electric vehicle, then the Tesla Model 3 is the way to go, especially now as the price has decreased over time. This is one you might want to check out. And keep in mind, this exact car right here is listed for sale on privateauto.com. You can browse all of our electric vehicles. They all have a breadth of services such as shipping. So if you find the perfect car, but it's out of state, that's okay. It'll ship door to door as an added service on Private Auto. We also have options for insurance and even options for financing as well. And we're adding new services almost every month. So be sure to check it out, privateauto.com.